the Bangladesh Institute of Forensic Psychology and Sciences, or BIFPS, as we all know. I am Tamanna Yasmin, your host for today. As a mental health professional trained at Monash University, Malaysia, I am excited to explore the fascinating intersection of psychology and criminal investigation with you all. Before we dive in, let me share a bit about BIFPS. Established on December 5th, 2020, it has become the first forensic based company in Bangladesh, making significant strides in our country's forensic science landscape. Under the leadership of its director, MD Meraz Hossain, BIFPS is dedicated to advancing forensic psychology, cybersecurity, and various forensic services, including handwritten verification, fingerprint analysis, and body language analysis. They also provide in depth psychological training to empower professional and enhance self awareness. The talented team at BIFPS collaborates with diverse organizations from government bodies to universities, delivering unmatched forensic expertise. On behalf of the BIFPS team today, I would like to apologize as Ms. Sonam Sanger, an professor at the School of Behavioral Forensic at NFSU and a PhD scholar in clinical psychology, cannot join us today. Thankfully, Ms. Swetha and MD Meraz will cover her segments, and Ms. Dipali Sheshra Wankare will address some of Ms. Sonam's topics tomorrow, which is our day 2. Before we begin, let's recognize the importance of our discussions. Forensic psychology connects human behavior and the law, helping us understand the psychological factors behind criminal actions. Crime investigation is vital for justice, combining physical evidence with psychological insights to solve cases. Rest assured, we'll only be profiling criminals today and not judging them. As we embark on this journey together, there are 7 ground rules to help us keep the session smooth and engaging. First, please mute your microphones when you are not speaking to minimize background noise. Second, use the chat box wisely for questions, but hold off on discussions until we reach the Q&A segment. Third, let's respect everyone's opinions and experiences to create a supportive atmosphere. Turn on your cameras during the sessions if possible. It helps create a more engaging environment. Fifth, we'll do our best to stick to our schedule, so please be mindful of time during discussions. The entire session will be recorded for quality enhancement, but participants will not have access to the recording. Certificates of participation will only be issued to those who attend both the days in full. And the last one, at the end of the session, there will be a Google form link in the chat box for everyone to fill in. With that being said, let's get started. Let me introduce our first expert facilitator for today, Ms. Swetha Sadanandan Thoppil, who is a PhD scholar at NFSU. She holds an MA in criminology from GFSU and a BA in psychology from the University of Mumbai. She will kick off our workshop with an introduction to forensic psychology in crime investigation. So, Ms. Swetha, the floor is all yours. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tamanna, for that short and sweet introduction. I would first like to understand the demographic present here. Like, can few of you introduce yourself as to what your backgrounds are? As in, do you come from a psychological background, or you just joined the workshop just because of your interest in forensic psychology? Meanwhile, I'll share my screen. Yes, is anyone interested in telling me just a little about your backgrounds? You can unmute yourself and share it with us.
Hello, ma'am. I'm Ibnan Bhuiya. I teach as a teacher at a public university at Department of Law, and I'm extremely interested in criminal psychology. And I teach in different courses like related to criminal psychology or penal code or this sort of legal topic. So I find it very interesting. I find this course and the topic very interesting so that I can teach them about forensic psychology particularly. So glad to be here and so glad to be present among the influential personalities like you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for that introduction. Can I get anyone else?
Hello everyone. I'm Sadanandan.
I would suggest you to raise your hand before unmuting yourself.
Okay. I'm Sujan Ahmed. I'm a student of Department of Psychology, honors final year, Muhammadpur Central University and College. Uh,
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much.
Ma'am, two other people, JNU Moni and Farhana Firdos, raised
Yeah,
their hand.
we'll take two more and then
Yes.
we'll continue.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello, ma'am. I'm Farhana Firdaus Jaman. I completed my BSc and MS degree in psychology from Dhaka University. Now I am working in a special sector in since 2016. I am very interested in forensic psychology. That's why I am here. Thank you.
Okay.
Hello, ma'am. Hello, everyone. I am Monira. I have completed my BSc and MSc from Jagannath University in Psychology, and I am now serving myself as a counseling and welfare officer in RMG sector. Though forensic is not just for my work, but as an interest, I have joined here. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks a lot for that information. So basically, I feel that everyone is from a psychological background and seems to have a little knowledge. So can any one of you define what, according to you, is forensic psychology and what are your expectations in this workshop?
I think for criminal investigation, we need to learn about forensic psychology. In
Right.
RMG sector where I have worked, there are so many grievances happened there, and I have to go there for inquiry. Though it's not about forensic, because we are working as labor rules, but for example, we have to learn a lot of things about criminal investigation, and I hope that should help us for further inquiry or so on.
Okay, so the practical aspects that you're looking for.
Yes.
Anyone else? We can take one more.
Hi, I am Nusaiba Rahman and I am from Dhaka University first year psychology student. The first time I got to know about this forensic psychology sector was in the book Silent Patient. Uh, from there, I really got interested in this subject, and I want to know more about this sector and pursue my higher degrees in forensic psychology. That's why I'm here. Want to know more. That's it.
That's really good to know. So basically, I'm just going to be looking into the introductory part, very basics of forensic psychology and how it is being applied in criminal investigations in today's world. And many of the cases that we have right now is mostly related to mostly my examples would relate to some of the American cases, some of the Indian cases. It's a mixed way that we are going to approach today. So I'll start with the idea, what is forensic psychology, right? The question that everyone has. So like we can see, there are two terms associated with it, forensic and psychology. So in itself, when we talk about forensics, it's anything and anywhere related to law and legal aspects. Is my PPT visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
thank you. So when we talk about forensic, it's anything related to law, legal aspects. And when we talk about psychology, it is about our mind, understanding about behavior. So basically, when we talk about forensic psychology, it is a perfect amalgamation of law and psychology. Okay. So where all of these things intersect in a point where we are trying to explain the minds of criminals, and we are going to understand how these things can be applied in the legal aspects, in the legal settings, right? So when we talk about uh, when we talk about forensic psychology, it is not per se limited to only the criminals. We can also talk about how it plays a role, and there is several subfields in forensic psychology that also explores victims, that also explores police psychology, and there are several other subfields that can be also extended through forensic psychology. So we are not only interested in the criminals, but we are also interested in understanding how it has an effect on the victims, how it has an effect on um, police as a as people who are the first responders, how they are, how they treat this aspect, or how they feel when or what they feel when they have to solve several cases, the pressure that they face, everything can be included. So as a forensic psychologist, what would be our aim is basically, mainly our role is to the aspect of giving testimonies, right? As an expert in the field, when we talk about the intersection of law and psychology, many a times the legal person or the judge in the case, many a times they do not have the particular knowledge in the field that we are from, right? So that is where our roles come in, and that is where we are invited, not invited exactly, but we are called upon, summoned upon to give an expert testimony. And that is how, when we go to the court of law and give our testimony, is when we are called as experts, give expert testimony. And so it is a way of, it is an interaction sorry, it is an exchange of information in a way that a consumer and a provider uh, gives, right? So we are the provider of information about certain cases, so we are giving them information about what is the aspect, what is the report of a certain person, and then the judges, the law enforcement agencies, the police personals, all of them become the consumers of the product, right? Forensic psychology therefore helps in bridging this gap. And the common aspect in which we know forensic psychology is through the popular, the book by Arthur Conan Doyle, and the series Sherlock Holmes, the book written by Arthur Conan Doyle. All of these are some of the aspects where we have consumed forensic psychology, uh, knowingly or unknowingly, right? There is one series on Netflix called The Mind Hunters, where how the initial stages of FBI and the establishment of behavioral forensics department in FBI was established by Douglas and other individuals were captured beautifully, and how criminal profiling is taking place. All of that has been captured in that series called Mind Hunters. So basically, we are understanding the humans, we are understanding their behaviors when we talk about forensic psychology. Uh, so there's this quote that someone had mentioned, that where is our role, what do we do exactly, right? So in many of the cases might go cold due to not getting enough evidences, and therefore these cases that may go cold are can be technically solved by some of the psychological aspects that may be applied to these cases, and thereby capturing these criminal minds, right? Thereby capturing the criminals. So when some cases could have actually gone cold, I hope you understand by what I mean by cold cases, the cases that are sometimes unresolved or that remain unresolved because of lack of evidences. And in such times, we as forensic psychologists, we have, or we can play a huge role. Now, when we talk about Sherlock Holmes and all of that, you might have read, or you might have observed in the series how minute observation of behavior has led him to resolve or solve a case, right? In a similar way, as a forensic psychologist, we must try to adapt ourselves to those minute details, those minute observations in our life. So some of the principles where these psychological ideas are coming from, now there has been a lot of nature and nurture debate that is going on when we talk about criminals and the criminal mind. So there are several theories from which these psychological principles are derived from. As psychologists, most of you might be aware of Hare's psychopathy checklist, and how it was developed, and these are some of the checklists that are being currently also used in order to identify people who have narcissistic, not narcissistic trait exactly, but lack of empathy, um, some of the uh, traits that usually are associated with criminals being criminals. Now, the nature and nurture, coming back to the nature and nurture debate, when we talk about criminal minds, so the idea that whether the criminals are made because of the circumstances or they have certain indispositions in them that make them biologically prone to being criminals, right? So biological theory basically explains and explores the aspect of nature, where it is explained through series of investigations and series of research that some of the biological aspects are playing a role when we talk about uh, criminal tendencies, right? So there have been discussed about a twin study where the genes of the twins were studied, and it was found out that they mostly have most of the, if one twin is prone to have committed a certain crime, around 56 or 57% of the time, the other sibling, a twin sibling, had the more chances of committing a crime. So there was this study of Jagdale family, where the biological treatments of these family led to understand that they had a criminal history in their past. The entire family through generations had certain criminal histories. So these are some of the biological theories that have claimed that some of the aspects of criminal mind or criminal tendencies do come from a psychological perspective, which is due to the predispositions of genetical factors. Then when there are many studies that have learned about aggression in human beings, and aggression being a fundamental reason for criminal tendencies, when we talk about crime of passion, where sudden provocation has led to certain criminal activity or criminal action. All of these are derived from biological theories. The aggression, the predisposition of certain genes in the body has led to the biological theories, the development of biological theories.
Ma'am, may I please interrupt you? Apologies.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
slides are not changing. Many people have raised these concerns.
Okay. I'll stop sharing and I'll try sharing it again.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Is it visible now?
Yes.
Yeah, ma'am, it's visible now.
Okay. Thank you. Is it changing though? Are the slides changing?
Third
Ma'am,
slide
are
now.
you changing because it's showing the fundamental psychological principles?
It's not changing, that means.
Okay.
Okay. Then I think I'll share my entire screen. Just a second. I'm sorry for this
No, ma'am, please take your time.
interruption. Okay. I think this would be better. Is it changing now? Has it changed to roles
Yes, ma'am.
as forensic psychologist?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So I think I was on behavioral theories. So as psychologists, you might also be aware of a lot of behavioral theories that are associated. So again, certain criminological theories also have tried to explain how behavior of an individual affects the idea of how they tend to commit a crime or why they commit a crime. So in behavioral theories, they have explored again Albert Bandura's theory and the social learning theory, all of where the aspect of um, learning uh, from the surroundings or learning taking place as the main cause of such behavior, right? Many of the criminologists in the field have studied about juveniles and their tendencies to commit crime, and they have broken into various theories which I'm not getting into right now, but they have tried to explain how certain activities are learned and certain behaviors are learned as they go through a group, as they interact with the group of people, especially in the youth or in their adolescent period, and which might increase the rate of juvenile tendency to commit crime. And then we come to personality theories again, where we have discussed about, where we can discuss about here's a psychopathy checklist, and how certain personality theories certain personalities can be prone to commit certain crimes, right? So psychopathy has been identified as one of the aspect where this is evident, and then there is something called as a dark triad, where narcissism, machiavellism, and psychopathy, machiavellism, and narcissism have been identified as the dark triads of personality that are associated with criminals. So all of these theories are the basic idea where forensic psychology comes in. But today we are not going to focus on the theoretical aspect. I think it would be more appropriate if we focus on the practical aspect as psychologists, where you can try to inculcate them how to use them. Also in India right now, I think we are using several instruments, forensic psychological instruments, that are helping investigators in their investigations, and also there are they are used as corroborative evidences in India. For example, there is polygraph that is being used, there is brain electrical oscillation signature profiling that is being used, and then there is layered voice analysis. I think all of this would be covered in more detail by the next speakers in the session. So all of these instruments are also a part of psychologists. Now, why I come to this instrument is because there is this popular case of Chris Ward, and he had committed murder of his pregnant wife and two children, and it was quite gruesome in nature when we think about it, because a father committing crime, murdering his two children who were below the age of 3 years, right? One was around 3 years, or two, in that area, where one was around 2 years old and 3 years old, the two of them uh, below basically 3 years old. So in this I think this is also available online for you guys on YouTube. So you can see the entire examination interrogation process of Chris Watt. This is why I'm taking this particular example, so that after today's class you can go back to go back and just go through your YouTube content, and you can watch this entire interrogation process that had taken place. So as a psychologist, we all know we have to use manipulation in some extent to get what we want from the person in front of us. The manipulation is, again, the ethicality of a psychologist has to be considered during this point. The manipulation is very, that we have to be into the limit of that ethicality also, which has to be noted down. And so in this, the polygraph examiner has beautifully express certain things. Now, we are not going into the details of how polygraph examination take place or how the questioning how there are several other techniques of questioning and all of that. So we are not going into that detail, but just one aspect in that interview was during before taking the examination, okay, the polygraph examiner pointed out that uh, she is highly experienced. She is a highly experienced person. She has around 5 years of experience and she has a lot of training under her. She just gave accredited her professional expertise in the field. Now, as we all are aware, polygraph is not completely reliable according to, it is not completely accepted in the court of law. Okay. In India, especially, it is being used as a corroborative evidence. So, by corroborative evidence, we mean that something that has been that can support other evidences. It is a supporting evidence. It's not completely accepted as an individual evidence itself. So, on the basis of just polygraph, you cannot claim that someone is a criminal or someone has committed. The accused is the convict, right? So, in that examination, during that time, her identifying and claiming her professional expertise, right, was a very good psychological move in order to establish that this polygraph test that is going to be conducted today will only give 100% truth, right? Even if you try to manipulate the polygraph examination, because there are certain ways in which the polygraph examinations can be manipulated. By establishing her expertise in the field, establishing her expertise in the field, she was able to analyze and she was able to, make the person in front of her a little scared of what was going to happen. Because the police had already got the lead into the case where the information they received, with all the information that they have gathered, they were able to understand there is some aspect of extramarital affair that was involved in this case. And because of that as a motive, there could be a chance that the father, the husband, might be the killer, might be the person who was responsible for the. Actually, during that time, it was not established that these three were murdered. It was only established that they are missing, right? So the father or the father could be the probable suspect for this abduction, whatever might have happened with the three of them, because there was no idea of what had happened or where their bodies were. So, as a psychologist, this is the point that I'm focusing on. As a psychologist, we have to be very careful when we are interrogating or when we are, trying to observe certain things. We have to observe even the minute details in order to understand how to evaluate the person sitting in front of you. It might be your client, it might be a criminal suspect, it might be a victim. So even victims have to go through certain assessments, right? You have to understand how psychologically it has affected them when they had gone through a crime or when they have experienced the crime. So that is the point where uh, indirectly the women in the polygraph examiner tried to put a certain threat in front of the individual who was taking the examination very subtly. Okay. And then later on, she was also found saying,
Ma'am, would you like to change the slide? People are asking if there is a need for slide changes.
no, I'm going to discuss the what do we say, the case studies, and it is not related to the slides as much. Like, I'm just going through the case studies. So, okay, anyway, I've changed the slide. So yeah, one more aspect. Um, yeah, so the idea is basically to establish yourself as a forensic psychologist. When you have to show that confidence in yourself when you're solving a case or when you're interrogating the suspect. Then this brings us also to the roles of forensic psychologist. As forensic psychologist, how are we? Where are our roles established? Right. So as forensic psychologists, our roles may mainly focus in the area of, as I have already mentioned, as an expert, as giving an expert testimony, giving probably in the field of correctional psychology, where you would be focusing more on the correctional aspects of the criminals. Then you will be assigned the role of an evaluator or consultant for certain private investigating companies. Then training is one of the major aspect where our role comes in, to train the individuals, to train the stakeholders especially. So when I'm talking about such interrogating methods, right, where the polygraph examiner was able to establish her dominance or her idea that okay, she's an expert, so whatever is going to be recorded today would be 100%, we can establish that if you lie on this test, you are certainly uh, going to be identified. So in that case, when we talk about many police personals who interrogate the criminals, do not they lack the knowledge of how to go about the procedures. So as I've mentioned, there are several ways of interrogation. Also, there are several techniques in which we interrogate an individual, and that techniques, how to use those techniques, when to be appropriately putting those techniques into positions so that we get what we want from the person in front of us, right? We can also, as a forensic psychologist, we can also play a role in crisis interventions or as a negotiator, right? So several times there have been cases where psychologists have been called in to negotiate. As you probably are aware of the popular series Money Heist, right? So there, the psychologist, her role was to negotiate between the professor who was committing the heist, and in order to get what they wanted. So the negotiation is beautifully depicted in those series, right? How the negotiations take place. So you have to use psychological tactics in order to bring the negotiation to a place where they do not harm the individuals involved in that criminal situation, and also they do not get away with their crime, right? So we will, as a forensic psychologist, we have to understand the problems. When I, like I've mentioned, in police psychology, we will learn more about what are the issues that are faced by police forces, and how can the police force and the stress can be reduced. Because in several cases, especially in India in today's time, there are several cases that are being going unresolved or going cold, or the convicts are not being given convictions because the suspects are not given conviction because of lack of evidences. All of this could also arise from the situation that the police are facing, because you can understand the number of crimes that are being undertaken today, and the number of police forces to that number of crime is very less. So the pressure of so many cases can also be one of the reasons why certain times the police personals are not able to deliver their work in the fullest, right? So that is also, as a role of, as a forensic psychologist, as a researcher in forensic psychology, we can explore these field where we can understand what are the problems that are faced by the police personnel. Then we can aid in criminal investigations process, or we can help in criminal profiling. Several cases have been solved using criminal profiling. Now, criminal profiling is where we understand certain modus operandi of the individual, of the criminals that are doing certain crime, and with that we understand how there are certain elements, psychological elements present in the mind of the criminal, which could possibly lead to that criminal. Okay, so for example, in the case of in a very popular, in the case of Ted Bundy, also I think Ted Bundy, this criminal profiling was used, where the series of murders that were taking place. So this the profiling included how the person is. The person is very charming in nature. That was identified. This was identified because he was able to charm individuals to bring them to in a secluded place, and then the murder was committed. All of these ideas, all of these particular things that go unobserved, that is where psychologists come in, forensic psychologists come in, to observe the minute details, to observe that is not observed by others. There is this one story, I think it is, I'm not sure about the factual representation of the story, but it goes something like a lawyer was in a very peculiar state where the lawyer was not able to establish, because not able to, probably not going to win the case, because there was no body of the victim that was found. But there is a victim, and somehow that case was there, the victim was there, and the body was not able to being they were not able to find the body, but there is a suspect, there are evidences against the suspect, but without the body they were not able to win that case. So the lawyer in that ending statement says that I will try to, I'll try to prove this by presenting the body to you, the person to you, the victim to you. And within the count of 10, the victim would come by that door. He claimed that in the courthouse. And somehow all the jury members, the judge, all started looking at that door, right? So this helped in establishing one factor. Now you'll understand that this is the smallest observations that where we come in, right? We have to observe that basically the suspect who was there, he was the only person who didn't turn around to the door. Claim that, thus understanding, thus making the suspicion correct, that the person was murdered and that person cannot walk from the door, and that confidence only a murderer can have, right? So these are the elements that we are trying to find out as forensic psychologists. And we have to help through our training processes. We have to help police officers and police personnel to understand such differences, such observations, such cues that body language gives. We are going to also learn about forensic autopsies, forensic psychological autopsies, right? So how forensic psychological autopsies work. So all of this, so as a forensic psychologist, not only can we gain information for the case, not only we can help for the case, we can also train the individuals to solve or resolve cases. And then we come in as a counselors for both police personnel, for offenders. So in India, we follow a system where we have rehabilitative system, where we try to make the offenders, we want the offenders to rehabilitate rather than commit more crime. So we have to prevent that. That is the main what do we say, that's the main aim of our punishment system. So therefore rehabilitation would also focus on counseling of the offenders as well. Then, as I said, forensic psychology is the intersection of law and psychology and law. So therefore, aiding policymakers to make better policies, that could be one of the areas, one of the roles as forensic psychologist. We can also give treatment and evaluation in court, where we will be presented as an expert witness, where we will be giving expert testimony, where the court might summon us for trial and evaluation of individuals. So many of the cases, the McNaughton rule, the Indian IPC section 84, where any individual who is found to have mental illnesses might probably have can not so we cannot basically establish they have committed the crime with their stable mind. So in that cases, such individuals can be we can be called upon to examine such individuals for their insanity plea. So when we talk about the Raghav Raman case, Raman Raghav case, where the individual went on killing people in the night, taking the modus operandi was a particular sharp tools that are available on the roadside, and the victims were generally people who were found to be homeless or who were on the streets. So they were the victims generally of this individual. And the individual started claiming that I was possessed, someone possessed my body, someone gave me orders to kill these individuals. So the classic trait of schizophrenic identity was found, and therefore many psychologists were involved in understanding and assessing Raman Raghav's case, where whether the individual can stand the insanity plea or not, due to the idea that that person might have been through the person is suffering through schizophrenia, and therefore the in the end the sentence that was given was decreased to some extent, instead of going through the harsher punishment in his case, because it was established that the individual is suffering through some psychological problems, and therefore the case was then the punishment was then a little less harsher in his case. So there we can come in as a forensic psychologist, where our role would be to come in and give our expert testimony after assessing the individual, assessing the suspect for any mental health issues or mental health wellness, or also to understand whether they are faking it, right? So the two aspects is whether they have it really, are they going through the uh, psychological disorder, or are they faking the psychological disorder? And yeah, so we can also, again, as I mentioned, crisis intervention is one of the aspect where negotiations can come in when we're talking about our role as forensic psychologists. I hope so far everyone is understanding what I'm explaining right now. Can any one of you, with whatever I have explained, can any one of you give any examples where forensic psychology might have been used in your country, or any such idea where you have heard about any particular cases? Anyone? Someone has raised their hand.
Ma'am, uh,
Yeah.
ma'am, there has been a very renowned serial killer in Bangladesh, Irshad Shiকদার. So in his case, particularly forensic psychology, to some extent has been used as per my knowledge, but it hasn't been mentioned in the judgment with
Okay.
particular references. But it has been uttered by the judge, respective judge. I can't remember the author judge right now, but it has been indirectly and addressed that ecology of serial killers should have to be studied. In this case, in Arshad Shikdar case, and again in India, we can see numerous cases. That there was a story of two sister killing children, multiple 14 children by poison, and again there are multiple cases in US as well. We can see the serial killers, renowned serial killers like Jeffrey Dahmer and Ted Bundy. Particularly, I'm talking about Ted Bundy because we have studied these cases in victimology, and Ted Bundy was uh, so heinously and so sharply intelligent that he himself has fought his own case of pervertedness. So these serial killing cases, and also if we see the Jeffrey Dahmer cases, there has been a Netflix series on Jeffrey Dahmer as well. So if we see those cases, we can see that how particularly intelligent these people are, and there has been a significant differences in between psychology and psychiatric issues. What I'm trying to say is that it's not that all serial killers are insane or have mandatory mental issues. It's not like that, ma'am. You have the expertise to explain that better than me. But as I have gone through the interviews, particular interviews of Jeffrey Dahmer or Ted Bundy, it has been explained by their own criminal psychologists that there has not been any particular, I mean, disorder, BPD, or any bipolar disorder or schizophrenia or this type of mental issues. They were and particularly Jeffrey Dahmer, they were very knowingly and very well planned, in very well planned way they have committed these murders, and they don't have any repentance about those. In fact, in their final trial, they actually requested the judge to actually provide death penalty to them because they had committed that sort of crime. In their final work, it was actually offered by the judge of the Jeffrey Dahmer final trial, and Jeffrey Dahmer, in his own speech, has uh, bade thank you to his own attorneys to advocate him, but he also has apologized whatever he had did. And as we all know, Jeffrey Dahmer targeted the black people to kill and sexually abuse as well. Same as the case with Ted Bundy. Ted Bundy, but the main difference between Ted Bundy and Jeffrey Dahmer is that Ted Bundy never ever actually admitted his own crime, but Jeffrey Dahmer did. So in all these serial killing cases, we can learn that it's so much important to include forensic psychology in writing the judgment by the judges, especially separate training should have been provided to the judges regarding the consideration of criminal psychological issues while writing the judgment and adjudicating criminal cases. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am, for that insightful conversation. So basically, I see that ma'am has a very legal background, and that's where her perspective is very important. So, like you correctly mentioned, that not every every serial killer or every murderer has certain psychological issues in them, right? Most of them. That's why when I explained about the triad personality, that is including narcissism, machiavellism, and psychopathy. Some of these traits, right? This dark triad have been they have tried to explain through these dark triads that some of these traits are prevalent in individuals. It might be either narcissism, it might be to some level some psychopathical tendencies, and to some level some machiavellism, where basically the idea, the power is driving them to do something. Now, when you talk about the Ted Bundy's case, he achieved certain power over those individuals who were his victims, and he was more charming and more likely to be observed by the media, and he liked the stardom that came with the with uh, that glorification that came with the uh, murders or the crime that he had committed. And in a similar way,
Ma'am, it actually provided a sadistic pleasure to him, and
correct.
he, yes, ma'am.
Yeah, absolutely. So it is providing a sadistic pleasure to him. Like I have mentioned, the Chris Watt case. Now you might not be able to understand. I'm sorry. You might not be able to believe this, but when this Chris Watt person, right? So basically, I'll explain the case in entirety so that you understand. This guy had. I have a few more minutes. I hope, right? I don't want to. So yes, Chris Watt was a person who had killed his pregnant wife and two kids. Now, this was motivated by the idea that he had a girlfriend or an extramarital affair with a person, and he wanted to get married to that girlfriend. And therefore, his motive, so he knew that his wife is apparently more dominant in nature, and therefore he couldn't convince her for a divorce. And that led to an argument. And in the process, he suffocated, smothered his wife to death, and then, when his daughter saw it, he smothered his two other children, and he took that children and he put them in the, he used to work in an oil rig, uh, as a in an oil rig place, and he took the children and put them inside that oil rig, those two little kids in that oil rig, this funnel, and then he took his wife and buried her near that oil rig, this place. So when you're talking about this place, it's a very isolated place, right? So the chances of anyone finding them is very less. And in the funnel, the kids might get, you know, the kids might get, uh, over the period of time, they might not be able to have found if the police have not properly taken an action against Chris Ward during that time. Now, in this case, imagine a person has done such a gruesome murder, and still that person is right now behind the jails, and this person has been receiving letters of admiration from women, uh, claiming they have been receiving letters of admiration from women, that claiming that they will still, you know, be romantically involved with him, or they want to meet him. All of these letters, there's this concept of pen pal in American penitentiary system. So this letters are being received. So right now, as a psychologist and as a forensic psychologist especially, what is the mindset of these individuals? They're not totally ready to accept that, even with the evidences that this person who has committed a crime, we are still kind of there are still kind of romantically trying to get involved with a person who is behind a jail for committing murder of a beloved partner and two children. So just imagine the psychology behind our mindset also. So in a similar way, I'm talking about this mindset is because Ted Bundy was also similarly charming. And therefore, there were many people who would still believe that Ted Bundy was not the reason. Even with the evidences, the people are lacking to establish or lacking to believe the truth that is there. Right?
Ma'am, just a kind reminder, we have 5 minutes.
Okay, thank you for that reminder. I'll continue with psychological autopsy, which is my last topic today. So psychological autopsy is basically when certain suicide cases are there, which are not being established as which there might be a confusion whether the suicide case are completely, was it a suicide or was it caused by some other reason. So in such cases, psychological autopsy play a role. Okay, so basically it tries to explain whether a person's life was taken by that own person themselves or by a murderer. There have been so this would involve, as a psychologist, it would involve us in analyzing the medical records, in interviewing the friends and family to understand the psyche of the deceased person, and also conducting what all were the things, or going through the journals of that individual, going through the post. Right now, our investigations have evolved, and we can use technologies, we can use footprints that are left in the cyber field today in our investigation. So analyzing the behavior on social media, analyzing the behavior on other websites and wherever, whatever contents that they were consuming. With all of these information, psychological autopsy can take place of a person who might have committed suicide. Now, this psychological autopsy from a purely clinical perspective gives a closure to the family that are present, right? Why did that person commit suicide? Sometimes because families are very clueless about the mental health disorders that they might be going through. Some are not aware of psychological help that they might be already be in therapy or they might be taking. So all of these would involve giving that family a closure. But as a forensic psychologist, it involves us to understand whether where there is no evidences of a suicide, or whether there is no evidences of a murder, when there is a complicated situation where there is uh, ambiguity in decision of whether it is a crime, whether it is someone who has committed someone who has committed a murder, or someone who has actually given their life due to suicide. So this concept, so in India, there was a very popular case where psychological autopsy was undertaken in the case of Sunanda Pushkar murder case. Sunanda Pushkar, it's still not finalized whether it's a suicide or murder case. It's a in that trial basically. It was established that her husband, who is a very leading political figure in India, uh, who who had committed the murder, or probably led her to commit or abetted her suicide, was the case. So in that forensic experts had done a psychological autopsy in order to understand that whether there was this whether the husband was can be claimed to have abetted the suicide. So it was found that there might be probably a chance that, according to the autopsy, that this her husband was probably behind committing that or abetting her suicide by there was evidences to show that there was abuse in that relationship, there was some financial issues in that relationship. All of this was being mentally that Sunanda Pushkar was mentally harassed. But what happened was basically it can not be accepted in the court of law, and therefore these psychological autopsies were not actually accepted. And the case was then, I think, it is under it's been revoked ever since. But these basic ideas, right? So it helped the investigators to get a lead as to whether that was a suicide or a murder. So even if it was not used in the court of law, the psychological autopsy can give the family members a clue, investigators in getting leads further, right, to getting certain evidences, especially when we talk about cases of domestic violence, and when we talk about cases where there have been suicide, abetment of suicide due to domestic violence, or dowry death cases. In certain those cases, psychological autopsies might help us in investigating and understanding the role of other individuals being involved or not. Now, the data that I've provided here, that is around 59.4% of suicide victims were between the age of 20 and 29, is purely clinical. It is not forensic psychological from the forensic psychological aspect. It is more clinical, and where the psychological autopsies had taken place in order to understand what were the reasons behind their suicide. And mostly it included psychosocial stressors and psychiatric illnesses, which were unidentified in majority of cases. So why do we do psychological autopsy? It is basically to understand the behavioral pattern. What is the behavioral pattern? What changed or what made them to come to that decision? To understand whether there was any presence or absence of psychological disorders. To understand the factorial precipitant, that is, what are the reasons, what are the factors that led to the end of the individual. Then what were the motives or intent in it, and if the motive was present or absent, which helps in establishing whether that was a suicide or a murder, right? And whether someone is likely to commit suicide or not, whether they were in a psychological stage where they might commit suicide or not. So this, again, all of these tools help in understanding from a forensic perspective. It helps in understanding and establishing whether it is a suicide or murder in such cases. I think that's it from my side for today. And if you have any questions or queries, you can ask me.
Ma'am, I had a particular comment.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for the wonderful presentation, and we have learned so much from you. Just a little comment to add on
Yeah.
about the case, whatever you have told about Chris.
Hmm.
Chris, I forgot the name of the
Chris what? Chris what? It's okay.
Chris what? So there was a case in India about the tandoori
Correct.
Tandur case, State versus Sushil Sharma. In this
Yes.
case, the perpetrator, as you know, that how gruesomely he had murdered his wife and managed to bring the dead body into a restaurant of his friend and set up in a tandoor where food were being prepared. And he placed the dead body in a tandoor and then burned it up. After the judgment has been published by the Delhi court, the Delhi court has given death penalty, but ultimately in the appellate division, the higher appellate court, Supreme Court, finally his punishment was lessened, but he tried to utilize the insanity plea or the mental cases plea as to manipulate the judge, but it was unanimously rejected, and it was completely opined that Sushil Sharma, the perpetrator, has no mental disorders or nothing like that. He had the pure intention and plan. So there is nothing to actually lessen his punishment of 20 years imprisonment. So in this case particularly, we can show that there is no chance of faking a mental illness or mental disorder to actually escape punishment, because
Correct.
this sort of serious murders, and especially his own wife, burning the dead body in the tandoor. I mean, no one can imagine. And Sushil Sharma used every way to actually escape death penalty. But nonetheless, due to the aggravating and mitigating factor of giving punishment, the death penalty was not given, but punishment of 20 years were given. So in this case, we can also learn about these factors, that mental illness cannot be always handled. Thank you so much.
Definitely. To add on to that, what you said is absolutely correct. Um, the mental illness, there is a interesting study which claims that all the mental illness people are generally not as active in order to commit certain crimes. So for a criminal mind, the level of intelligence, the level of commitment to commit the crime, the level of planning is mostly not involved in many of the mental illness individuals. It does not it does not eliminate the possibility that someone suffering from mental illness cannot commit crime, but the chances of them committing the crime with such planning and with such accuracy is very less, according to that data provided in one of the research. So I just wanted to add on to your point, which is absolutely correct. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
All right. With that being said, if we have any further questions, we can ask it later when our second facilitator will be done. There will be a Q&A segment. And now, may I please ask you all to turn on the videos for a group picture? It would be nice to see all the beautiful faces here today. Thank you so much.
I would just like to mention my thanks to Bangladesh Institute of Forensic Psychology and Forensic Science for inviting me for this event. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thank you for being a patient listener also. Thank you for your participation.
Thank you, ma'am. All right. So let's take the picture. One, two, three, cheese. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. So it was a very insightful segment on introduction to forensic psychology in investigation crime, right? Now, without further ado, let's welcome the director of BIFPS, MD Meraz Hossain. He is a PhD scholar at NFSU, holds an MSc in clinical counseling psychology, and has extensive knowledge in forensic psychology. He will guide us through behavioral analysis in criminal investigations. Please welcome. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Tamanna, for nice introduction. I think I request everyone. My session, I would like to take a more practical and practice based. So if anyone is available in video, we will talk, we will discuss. And I am MD Meraz Hossain, now working on doing PhD in forensic psychology. Especially my domain is body language analysis in crime investigation, and also I am the managing director, Bangladesh Institute of Forensic Psychology and Sciences. In our country, till now there are no forensic science department in our university, and forensic psychology also not. Only two universities are teaching forensic psychology as a course. But NMH, National Mental Health Institute, there has a forensic psychiatry unit. They only analysis who has the psychological disorder or not. Only psychiatrists are doing this. This is the scenario in our country. But maximum Indian and Bangladeshi scenario, court and law, everything is the common, because because it's like a the Evidence Act, others act is very common. It's when Indian subcontinent divided, that time their law also divide, like a Evidence Act, who have the Indian Evidence Act, same act in India, Bangladesh Evidence Act, and in Pakistan Evidence Act. So 45 section, 73 section, this is the expert opinion section and document examination related section. But it is very sad that in our country, Bangladesh, there have no National Forensic Science Laboratory, FSL. Only police department have internal laboratory, but we need to the lab in every country. So forensic crime investigation and everything is a like a cooperative work. Is not meaning that only clinical psychologist, forensic psychologist will solve the every problem. No, the every kind of, we need the forensic scientist, we need the forensic physics, we need forensic accounting, we need forensic microbiology, every kind of people we need. So that time we can solve in forensic, and especially we tell the courtroom interview. Our whatever next day you will see the what kind of equipment we are using. The professor will has that very oil. He is very expert of that. You will see what have been now in our lab. But it is not like a polygraphy test, other macro expression test, layer boys analysis test. It's a say that you have suspected, but this report is not 100% acceptable. It's a supportive. You need the other report. And especially in our forensic psychology, it's help in crime investigation. And when you do the crime investigation, it's give the indication, help for how to do the further work, and where you have need the connection or need work on this. Okay, I am going to the slide. Behavior analysis in crime investigation. And okay, Tamanna also said our organization, Bangladesh Institute of Forensic Psychology, this is now limited organization, private limited, and we will the first organization in Bangladesh, private organization, and we are starting from 2020, and we are providing service day by day, year by year. We will adding more support, more service. Till now in our country, we need the more expert about the every sector, but still we don't have the expert, and we are providing many psychological and forensic related course training. Okay, today topics is techniques for conducting psychological assessment in forensic context, and another is method for profiling suspect through behavior analysis, and another is psychological and behavioral cues in the criminal conduct, and fourth we will discuss non-verbal signal or body language analysis in deception detection. Okay. Now, in psychology, before going to my slide, I want to know the one information. And there have the 40 plus participant in our session who is not psychological background, or that's mean who is came from others background than psychology or criminology, especially psychology. Who is not studies the psychology? Everyone is the from psychology background. Raise your hand in the chat, Google Meet. Okay, one Nazmul Islam is no. Okay, because in our there have the many psychological theory that I will understand. Should I discuss details or not? Two people raise hand. Okay. In techniques for conducting psychological assessment, generally we in clinical psychology, in everyone, we also doing the mental state examination. We also see the overall appearance of the person, and also that's we also doing the same activity. Suspect mental state and how the suspect and victim mental state and how to is looking. Everything we see, and another is cognitive function, is his brain is work or not, that's been inside, he has insight or not, or he has like a psychological disorder, any like any psychotic or like a schizophrenia or bipolar disorder or uh, psychopath or others have or not, we also analysis this. And if we get that this any kind of problem, then clinical psychologist also helping in this diagnosis and the treatment part. But as a forensic psychologist, we use the two type of scale, and one is historical clinical risks in 20 SCR 20, and another is psychopath checklist. Now we will see the overview of the these two PPT PDF, the how the scale is working, and later then I also sharing the all material in our group and also in email. Here is psychopath checklist. There have the you also everyone seeing. There have the 20 items, and in 20 items, and there are the three scoring part. One is definitely not present. That means that person have no relation on this, and somewhat present. That means little amount present. And if there is a strong level, you will get the present his behavior. That means you will also give the trick. And there have the scoring overall, over getting the score, mm, uh, you will get a score, and then you will understand that person have psychopath or not. Okay, and now the one is like a, for example, if you see the all kind of thing, low frustration tolerance, or like a grandiose the sense of self-worth, like he is thinking himself he is something and he is more than what he is, and pathological liar and deception, he is always love to tell the lie and everything. And like if you say the lack of guilty, and also like sometimes you will get the short temper and everything, and you will get also sexual relationship history, you have to take this, and then you will understand the what he is doing. Another is early childhood behavior problem or not, and uh, lack of realistic and long term plan what he has, and he doing the long term planning or not, realization of the realistic is available not, you have to understand this. Impulsivity, and any history of the his childhood, like a and marital relationship was how was good. And so this is everything you have to understand, and then taking a score. Generally forensic psychologists, clinical psychologists, they will use this scale, and they understand the how much the person is psychopath or not. Another scale is you are seeing HCR, but it is a different scale. For the professional, you have to like a more different knowledge, a structure professional judgment. So this is not like our psychological scale, anxiety, depression is not like this. A more different degree of risks you have to identify, and like a low, medium, high history of violence. In that scale, you have to take the historical risk factor, clinical item. There have the many item. Generally, we also use this to identify that person have any risks or not. For example, in our country, okay, one group discussion. I think it's very helpful. In especially Bangladesh and also India, we also see the in Bengali we say the Kishore gang. That's mean the young who is very like a gang, creating the gang, child create a gang and group doing the crime for political and every others helping. And in Bangladesh we also see many things. Many Kishore gang or like a child gang and adolescent gang they are working. Is there have any future risks? For example, new government are changing. Government will change every time. Okay, but this person would be very good, or they can be crime in future or not. What is your opinion? Please, everyone, share your opinion. Hello.
So sorry to say, because of a network issue, I didn't heard your question properly. Will you please describe
Okay.
one more
I,
time?
my okay, okay. My question is the gang of the child gang, like a adolescence gang, and uh, maximum was the adolescence, Kishore gang. We also said this, and they are very harmful for future or not. For example, one day they become the adult and they will marry, but their behavior will affected in future or not, like a risk analysis. What is your opinion?
Yeah, it's totally dangerous because their mentality will be set up like they will be aggressive, they will harm someone, and it will affect on their personal and professional life also in future.
Mm. Okay, others' opinion. Any others explanation opinion? What we are always thinking about the adolescents and their behavior. I think uh, no one say that their crime activity they are using they are using killing the man and the any child and like a relationship issue, any issue, they cut their hand, everything, and they don't have like a feel the freedom. I have some power and I have the backup. I have this politics and this group. So how do you the what will happen after 20 years? That's people. My voice is audible or any problem?
No, it's clear now.
The voice is clear, sir.
Okay. Okay, this is the risk analysis problem. In what is the the adolescents gang the problem, especially in if you say the Bengali culture or Indian culture, they are like a uh, uh, 1 10 people group, 5 people group. They are showing the social media. We are gang and we are like a more violence movie. They are reference and if anyone face the problem, others are going and they cut the people, they murder the people, and they also post and they also said, "I am did many big war." But do you think it's their behavior become very polite day by day, or they will be become more aggressive day by day? What is your opinion? Okay, for example, now in our country Kishore gang activity will be reduced. I think any government will come because what have there like a uh, they are 50%, for example 50% people Kishore gang like adolescents gang, they will not involving in the ganging activity like a murder activity. They are try to become a normal life. it is easy for them to be a normal person or not? What do you think? If he that one without any professional support, he can be a very good person. Please talk with me. It's not a lecture session. It's a workshop. Workshop is more training procedure. You have to talk. You have to involve. It's not like you are sleeping and hearing and getting the certificate. Okay. I have everyone to request talk with me. That's will you will involve. If you are talk more, we will doing the more practical example and practical practice. If you are like a lecture method, okay, we will go. No problem. So without because it's a very big concern matter. I saw the many criminology student are came here. Till now, no one is talking about the Kishore gang. They are very problematic person uh, in our society, because without getting professional help, their inner behavior will be remain less or better. So you have to give like a rehabilitation and everything. So and like he's when anyone get the taste of power and illegal money, I think everyone understand what I am talking. If he has the illegal money and illegal power, that is like one kind of addiction. If he feel that this is the addiction, extreme thrilling of the life, so that will suffer more. So that's why we need concern about their activity and everything.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes,
Meraz,
yes.
I'd like to interrupt. Actually, many of them are responding on the messages, so I think you can look at the answers
Hi.
that they're giving.
Yes, yes. I also saw that their message, and they also give that answer. Thank you so much for giving answer. And everyone is giving their opinion. That's also nice. And parenting everything. But after one time, parenting also, when people are like a child, adolescence, that time parenting work. But when you become 18 plus, that time parenting, parent have don't have the control. In adolescence gang, they have no control about the parents because they don't hear the parents talk maximum time. Okay, JNU Moni, you raise your hand, please tell.
Hello, sir. I'm Ibna Bhuya. I'm a teacher at a public
Hmm.
university. I'm a law teacher.
Hmm.
What I am actually relating to your commentary and the lecture, what I understood from your lecture is that you were talking about juvenile offender. As by my knowledge, in criminology, we study juvenile offender. So the juvenile crimes or juvenile offenders are actually a byproduct of a lawlessness, of course. And if we do not actually educate them, and if we do not actually make the law as a mainstreaming issue, it will be a problem with no solution, because the lawlessness and the educating part of the younger generation is the bigger issue that actually creating this mess. And I think the juvenile offenders are increasing day by day due to the lawlessness. This is one of the main reason, and another reason can be the social and economic reason as well, because as we can see, the younger generations, especially in Bangladesh, if we see the people aging from 10 to 19, if we see this aging group, they actually use the social media and other apps like TikTok or Likey. Through these apps, they actually showcases very violent activities. As a matter of fact, that they have to put videos in daily basis to get actually the income, or as well as in YouTube as well, because they actually do this to attract attention, so that they can get as many views as important to make an income from their social media platform. So this is another reason why the juvenile offenders are getting more violent and violent. And another aspect is that apart from the economic and lawlessness factors, another aspect is that uh, there has always been an attention-seeking tendency, and it's because of the social media mania. I call it a maniac personality, because everyone is so and especially the younger generation, they are so relentlessly trying to get attention of everyone, and this actually make them committing an act, whatever means, and they don't actually inculcate whether it is right or wrong, or they actually don't inculcate whether there has been a significant consequence of their act. So in these reasons, juvenile offenders or juvenile crimes are being increased day by day. And apart from the political reason has always been same in many countries. But in Bangladesh, apart from the political reason, I think the usage of social media platforms and the economic reasons are more prevalent regarding the juvenile offender. So we have to actually utilize the forensic psychology later, because for forensic psychology cannot actually directly control the juvenile offendism. What we can do is that the education part, the the usage of social media, the economic issues, these issues should have to be handled before we actually investigate the uh, mm, criminal tendencies of, of the juvenile offender. That's what I can
Thank
relate to your lecture, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so welcome, ma'am. It's a nice ad from you. But my concern is that also. So we need to work everyone, but who will do? Till now, we don't have the any like a forensic lab in every district. So how can we solve our case? How can we do this? And juvenile system like a rehabilitation, we have government rehabilitation and something in our country, but their response, their success rate is not up to marks. So this is the big concern in our country, and especially India is in forensic sector. They are doing good. They have the every sector is different, clinical psychology, neuropsychology, and every is so interconnected, and there are many law and universities. So they are very good. But if 50% more than 50% came from Bangladesh and more 50% came from Indian and some came from Malaysia. So I am asking about the these two country situation. Okay. So we have to understand that if that person is psychopath or not, and he is the historically clinical risk person or not. That person can do crime in future or not. We have to understand. Then we have to give the treatment. As a forensic psychologist, they are not only investigation. They also analyze. They also work on rehabilitation. They are also work on counseling. So we need to work together. And if I technique in psychological assessment, in mental state examination, generally in clinical, what we do clinical psychology and forensic psychology, if he is expert on this, he also doing the same. He also try to when that person is coming and seeing the in crime scene or interview, he try to understand the cognition, emotion, and behavioral function of that person, because it's he also asks the some question and observe and try to understand his the current scenario. And for this, that we will understand what is the social factor, what is psychological factor, what is a biological factor, and how can we treat them, and how can we need to interview them, and how, where we need to uh, is that person need counseling or not. And during the interview, we also do this mental state examination. In that examination, we also see the like a that person appearance, behavior, how that person is looking, how the his dress up, and how the his body structure, is his body have any muddy, or he's like over organized. That kind of overview we can see the more information. And behavior is he is cooperative or non-cooperative, his motor activity is okay or not, and he psychological behavior like a why he is talking with you or not. This kind of give the more information. For example, if any people is came to you and he is like a oil dress, but in the hot summer he is wearing 2 3 days, and in a, if you say the country context, in our country context he is saying I am the Imam Mahdi, like a and I have the power, I have the angel in my hand, and this kind of information is telling. So, do you take his information seriously, or you will try to understand that person have psychological problem or not? What you will do when that person, like a person came, he's dress up many dress and religious dress and saying, I am the Imam Mahdi and I have the many angel power in my hand. What thing will come in your mind? Okay, tell.
So, if I am a regular person who lives in a typical society, I will definitely think that this person is insane. But if I am a psychology student and trying to uh, see what's really behind this behavior, I would really try to uh, I would really try to measure his activities and see what's really made him do that.
Hmm. That's the nice answer. As a psychologist, we have to understand his everything, and generally, it's go to like a bipolar mood disorder in manic phase. And there also came. We also discuss on this, and each phase you have to identify. You have to see the how the his speech rate is like a he talk with very fast or slow, and the how much the pressure and the voice tone and volume is okay or not, especially when is anyone talk and he's thinking he's some power and he's talking too much, so you will understand the problem. And in crime investigation, sometimes when we ask the question, that person is giving the taking the time for thinking, and the rate of the voice always the change according to question. We always try to find out that kind of information and changing. Another is mood, how that person is mood feeling now, good or bad. And it's also a mental status examination work on normal people and also criminal, everyone. Is he is stable or not, he is clinically fit or not. For doing this we have to understand this. Another is affection, like a uh, according to our context, our environment, that person emotion is changing or not, and how to give the uh, response according to question and scenario. That's we also understand. Another is thought process. I am going the fast because the MSc is the especially clinical psychology part. My intention is not to discuss only MSc. Others I have the many content. That's why I'm going thoroughly. You will get the PPT. Okay. Another is what he's talking, is the thought is organized and is logical or not. If anyone say I have the 100 plus angel power in my hand, that is not a logical. It's not a religion support or nothing support. And another is his thought is blocking or not. For example, that person say I came to the home and here, and that time he's going to the talking with his friend and his childhood memory, but they have no link. So you have to understand what is his thought process, and also the thought context. Sometimes, for example, OCD and everything, he is only talking about the dirty thing, like a why this the, like mm, sure if the I think the obsession in criminal also, anyone talking why others are not giving the attention, why all men are rapists or all women are bad, this kind of obsession thinking that person has or not, we have to understand this. Another is delusion. Delusion is the false belief. That is strong belief, you cannot change the belief according to the, and that belief is not no relation with society, culture, context, religion. For what I give the example, if a person came and said I have the 100 angel power, angel is so, or anyone don't have the angel power, so this is the like a delusion. There have the difference. And another is perception. Some people are seeing one people are came and they give the instruction to kill that people, and I also kill that. If anyone go to the mental health hospital, you will also see the some like a hallucination. Client also they are did many crime. They killed their child, parents, and everyone. They still some people came to me and said to kill that person. So I killed that. And another thing, some criminal they are so mastermind, and their lawyer also so helpful for them criminal, and they say try to doing the hallucination act, and if we prove that you have the hallucination, you become the free from the sentence. So that time we have to very concerned, and at that time we have to observe that person in not only counseling session. We have to observe long time to analyze that person have really psychological problem or not. Another is cognition. That person, the memory is working or not. That person is giving attention or not. How the orientation, he's understandable his time, place, or person or not. So we have to discuss on this. Another is insight. Insight means that person is aware his illness or the in criminals. You also see that that person feel guilty or not guilty, and he is aware of this or not. Self reflection. How this is also important. Another is judgment. If you see the judgment, that person has problem solving ability, risk management ability or not, and he is doing this activity or not. Another is that person talk it reality or not, is the trustworthy or not. We also analyzes this. Okay, I am giving the two more example according to Bangladesh culture. Hmm. In our Bangladesh, I think some years ago there are the very famous conflict between the religious conflict. But one people are came the with Quran and put this in the mandir, and two group are like a religious conflict. Why Quran is here, another are doing this. But when you see the CC footage and the analysis of the behavior, that person have the psychological problem. But in our country we are not taking the psychology support, because what our country have people the like expert, they think we need more expert, but they are saying in the seminar and everything. But in real scenario, we saw that they are not taking the help from the expert. That is our bad scenario in our country context. Another thing, 3 days ago you will see the in Dhaka University mob justice. Students are killing the one people. So that's when you have to understand that people is psychologically fit or not. Is that people is thief or not? He is psychologically thief, or he is like a intentionally thief. So without understanding this kind of scenario, if we don't understand, we will do many crime day by day. That's also happening in our country and every country. So we have to understand this kind of scenario. There have the many mental state examination checklist, and in our organization we also develop one kind of checklist, not to develop, like making this for our own research and activity, like a mental state examination. If we see the observe how the his appearance, build, speech, eye contact, motor activity, and also like a mood, cognition. This we also using in counseling and also crime investigation. I also share with you, and you can use that this kind of information in your clinical setting and also counseling setting. Okay. Another is psychological assessment is techniques for conducting psychological autopsy. Psychological autopsy is very helpful. Shweta also explained very well. Anyone when suicide or any crime activity, we analysis this and we try to understand why that person is doing this. Like a Sushant Singh Rajput, Bollywood actors and dead. What we see like a psychological autopsy, we understand his depression and other psychological problem. Another famous problem case is Burari murder case. In Burari murder case, Indian people are very aware about this Burari murder case. 11 people are suicide in the room, but there are no trace. Nothing is unorganized. Everything is very neat and clean. So in doing the psychological autopsy, when they analysis the they have the what they get in the room, the what note they get the note, and everyone note they read this and understand the scenario, and they said that Lolit had the psychological disorder, delusion disorder, and every people are doing according to Lolit order, and that's they are blaming. So Sushant Singh, Burari murder case also important for psychological aspect. In Bengali people in our organization are creating the video about the crazy study of this kind of thing. I think within 1 week, we will get the Burari murder case psychological explanation, and others are video are making. Within 1 to month, you will get more video about this. So we are working on this and connected with our social media, Facebook, LinkedIn, and you will get the video. Okay. And day by day, we are also arranging English program. That's other country people also get the benefit. Another is a structure forensic interview. In when people are came in the interrogation, there are the interrogation technique. And interrogation technique, we ask the many question, we understand there the problem, and structure forensic investigation technique. That time we also using the psychological test. Forensic, we have the test like layered voice analysis, where we can understand the people psychological emotion deception. Only analysis is the voice. Another is polygraphy, and if we say the micro expression, only see the face. Micro expression, we can understand what he is telling, what is emotion, what is behavior. That also we will discuss in the next session. Okay, that's also forensic interviewing. So another is method for profiling suspect, how to the behavioral analysis, especially if we talk the behavioral analysis. It's like a we go to the connect to the psychological theory, why that person is doing. There are any biological or social factor or psychological factor, and any other factor are working on it. We go to the crime scenario, we collected data from also interview, uh, and uh, and for this criminal profiling, we try to understand the motivation behind the crime and predict the offender's future action, like future he will do crime or not, what is his future plan or not. Especially terrorists, they are planning more and more. So when we're doing this kind of interview profiling, we'll understand their behavior. Another is providing the insight about how he is working, how is his living, and we can give the suggestion the authority, how can is that person need counseling, that person need any job, or that person need rehabilitation, what he is need or not, we give the this kind of support. Okay. And in profiling, we can do two kinds of profile. One is deductive profiling, another is in deductive profiling. Deductive profiling is when a crime is done and we collected information, the crime scenario, and collected the information and try to understand the nature of the crime, what weapon of the use, and what is the behavior of the victim and offender, everyone, and what is the character, everything we try to understand. In Burari murder case, when we do the that was is deductive profiling. In deductive profiling is like a understanding the mysterious, and we'll what we get the analysis, the conclusion, we see the like what we have the get the note in the room, and we understand that okay, that person are doing the like a suicide is not a suicide, it's a accidental death. They thought that in that case, they thought their father will who have the death, that will person will come and they will help them from this problem, like is a hallucination delusion related problem. Okay. Another is inductive profiling. Inductive profiling is when we analyze the statistical data and pattern of the past crime and predict what that person is can do in future or not. Like for example, juvenile crime, what we have the discussed, like a Kishore gang, adolescence crime. This kind of crime is what we discuss in there. That is inductive profiling. If we are not regulate their behavior, not observing their in future, Bangladesh or others people will face big problem. Okay. Another important is victimology. In generally, victim play is the very common scenario in Indian subcontinent, also India and also Bangladesh, because in that scenario, when anyone get the rape, we are always blaming why that girl is go there, why the victim role play. So that is also like a very bad scenario in our culture. So we also, as a forensic psychologist, we try to understand the victim, what is the victim lifestyle and habits, and also relationship, and what is the effect, what kind of support, psychological support he is needing, and how can we help him. And so this is also helping in our case. Another is like a behavioral evidence forensic. In that sector, we working with forensic scientists. We what the physical evidence that person is put there. It's a organized crime, or it's a disorganized crime. Organized crime is there have the less evidence left, and if the disorganized, that the murder weapon, everything is the putting there. And so what the person is psychological traits and what is the conclusion of the offender, we have to understand this. In there are the many psychological theory, like a aggressive, who is very aggressive, and like a attention seeker, that person have the psychological problem. In the, if you go the recognition psychology and behavior context, in narcissistic personality traits, if anyone have the narcissistic personality traits, like that person, we need to the importance every place, I need attention everywhere, and I have to manipulate the scenario. If that person cannot do this, and that's creating more problem. And for this narcissistic personality traits, and they are also doing the many crime. And Charles Shabros, and that's there are the another case. I give the example, write the example here. If you want to more interest, you can go there, history, why they did, how many people are going there, and that's a very interesting. Another is psychopath behavior, and psychopath behavior, that person don't have the like a emotion. They are showing the less emotion, or they don't have emotion for their they do the crime like a for mm, it's a, like a one kind of habit for them, and for doing the crime they don't have the any guilty, and shallow emotion and manipulative behavior. Okay. Another is impulsive and premeditated behavior. That is happening in Bangladesh now. That is very common. What our like a new government changing, new student coordinator, everyone coming, they are saying the people, they are killing the people, because in our Indian subcontinent, I will say, it's not a matter of the religion. It's the matter of how the our senior high authority teach us. For example, mm, okay, I am discussing something about this. It's a very interesting topic. For example, it's not a matter of the religion, like a Hindu Muslim. Not matter of the religion is the like a how the our senior means really our political leader, our religious leader, our parents, teachers. That is the important what I'm talking. They always teach us the polarization, black white. If you thinking about the mm, uh, if I talking about the like a political thing, if I do this kind of politics, only the what the my politics political group is good, that is that, other is bad. If I am the is religious group, only my religious is the good, other religious is bad. If India, if I say only my caste is the best, other caste is the bad, there are the many caste issue. So always our parents, also parents is my for example, if the anyone the parent have the mother control, mother always teach your father family is the bad. If the father control, father teach that your mother family everyone is bad. That's our family is the teaching the polarization. They don't teach the neutral, how to think the neutral. So that is the one kind of big thinking. In our, you see the Dhaka University case, every case, what is the murder is going now, when government is changing and everything, people cannot control their emotion, because every our leader means political leader, psychological our religious leader, our parents, I also said our mother also lead, father, mother. They always teach the extremist. They cannot say when changing. They cannot hold the emotion. That's me. Cut that people, cut that statue, doing that, like impulsive. What we have the running in our country. That's is only one reason. I will give the example. In Indian subcontinent, we are very helpful. Nature is very good, but one big problem is no one teaching how to control our emotion. Every scholar means leader, always use our emotion, and they give the logic, emotional logic. We are thinking, it's a emotional logic. If you see the in the Facebook, like every Facebook maximum post is like not a neutral thinking. Why we have not good relation that country, we have not bad relation that, but your country is the like 100% independent or not. So we don't family is not teaching us how to take the help from others, how to like a analysis din, and how to uh, like a help minimize our emotion and respect other. Respect is the problem. Another is different opinion. Different opinion is the like a, for example, in childhood our parents teacher, what I did that this math, this is the only one way, you cannot do the math another way. So our teacher is the uh, teaching the flexibility. No, they don't teach us flexibility. This is what I did that this style, you have to do math this style. So I have, there's also teach one kind of crime in our crime mindset. Only this behavior is good. So that's kind of happening in our country. I am saying, I always say this, Bangladesh or Indian, especially I will say the Bangladesh is the one kind of hub from crime. Hub means any crime is happen. I am not surprised any kind of crime, because I know this is will happen, because there have the many psychological reason. Okay, ma'am is want to say something. You raise your hand.
Thank you, sir, for giving giving me the chance to speak again. So actually, a very important point you have raised, that uh, some particular manipulative behavior has been shown by our own parents during our early childhood. It's like we can term it as manipulative, narcissistic, especially controlling parenting is one of the reason why children are not being raised in an environment where opinions, culture has been tolerated. I mean the cultural tolerance, opinion tolerance, and also respect towards each other. These things have not are not being taught by the parents, mostly due to their own sufferings on their childhood and lack of education. And also, if you observe the mentality of the university students recently, whatever the murders and other activities has been recurrently committed by the university students, very alarming, because university students are understood or considered to be a complete matured level of generation. But the activities they are doing recently, due to a big uh, I mean, uh, country or nation-based change, what we have seen in July and August, as we have witnessed a very violent, not violent actually, a very shocking transformation in the political changes. So it will obviously left an footmark or imprint in the psychological faculty, mental faculty of the people of a country. And mob justice or moral policing, these types of crimes has always been committed before or after the newer independence, if we term it as newer independence. So these crimes are not new. It has always been committed, and in very different method, in very different perspective. I can remember an incident where a woman, most probably in the Mogbazar area, she was taking her two children to the school, and people actually doubted her as a pickpocketer and killed her by beating on spot. So these things are actually very, very shocking, and as we have witnessed uh, mm, a very sharp shifting in the political power of Bangladesh, and we have witnessed a Gono Jagaran actually. So the social unrest and political anarchy have also playing a role in people's mental faculty. They are being restless for any and no reason. And also these things will occur until and unless we are being able to manage the lawlessness, and we are being able to manage the supreme leaders positions as well. So it's very important what you have addressed, that these manipulative, narcissistic, controlling patterns of behavior is actually leaving a very dangerous imprint in the psychosocial aspect of the younger generation. Thank you, sir.
Okay, welcome, ma'am. Okay, today I give more example related to Bangladesh, but tomorrow, Swetha, Deepali ma'am also teach the law related with India and everything. You will not feel that Indian people are not giving example. Tomorrow will get more example because I am new in here, so it's difficult to give the real scenario example, and that's why don't feel the bad for this. And another thing, what new government and new thing is, can I am not very good hopeful because I know psychologically we are very bad, a bad thing will happen. That is my assumption, because in our psychological 92% in our Bangladesh one research is 92% who have the psychological disorder, they don't take the treatment. What is the after that? If you are don't take the treatment psychology, you have the psychological problem, you are a very violent a person, in unhappy person, very problematic person. If you are problematic person, you are also making the more problem others family member. So 92% who have the psychological problem, 92% they are making the
Exactly,
problem their
sir.
life. So
Exactly, sir.
so
Also, sir,
we have the
student
time issue, ma'am.
counseling hasn't been,
Ma'am,
yes, sir.
we have
Student
the time.
counseling hasn't been introduced in the university, medical or educational field. Student counseling has to be introduced, in my opinion.
Okay, everything should be introduced, but who will do? But they are not ready to understand this. Last 4 years, I am struggling the Bangladesh, making the forensic laboratory and doing work. But response go only 5-6 high authority people are giving the support. 5-6 is not enough for me. Doing the making a national forensic lab in every district. So I am thinking, what the 1,000 people are died? It will die future again. Sir, forgive me this kind of harsh word because it's a psychological
No, sir.
as
That's
I'm
the reality, actually. That's the
uh,
reality. There should have been a national policy and
hmm.
also curriculum, and also maybe we can produce a law as well.
Hmm. And okay, if you anyone not joining the WhatsApp group, we are sending also the WhatsApp group in link to you. That's you can edit that group. Wait 1 minute. I am giving the link. And Tamanna, you have the copy this and give the in the chat box.
Sir, I have given the joining link if that's working.
Okay. That's good. Okay, I am going to the my slide. That is my important topics, which sector I am doing the PhD, body language analysis in crime investigation. In NFSA, we have the good uh, very good lab, and but in our police they are not try to use the lab, they are like a manual lab to they love to do the manual activity. That's why I am also doing on this. When anyone doing the body language analysis interview, that can be in interrogation room, that can be a like a crime scenario room, crime scenario sport, or any police room, you have to observe many things. When anyone trying to doing the deception or telling the lie, you will get the inconsistency in facial expression, like his micro expression who is less than 1 second or happen 1 second, very infections in second time. This kind of changing you will say the in face, and for detecting this micro expression, this is apps is very good what we have the episode. But if you are taking the video record the video, then in analyze the macro expression in later time, reduce the speed of the video. Another is sometimes we see the who if people is doing the deception, that they are trying to avoid the eye contact and blink more. And we also see the exceptional also. Some people are maintain the eye contact 100 times. That also are deceptive cues. So that is also important. Another is shifting the eye movement. Sometimes they are talking, they are like a shift their eye every right and wrong place. This is the one you will see the, if you go the law and crime YouTube channel, you will see many crime interview, because USA, UK, they are very expert. They have the many video every people. They are interview video before doing the murder and everything. They are like a video related. So they can doing the body language analysis very on. When yeah, anyone like a police officer, psychologist, what they are writing, the criminal also want to see that person is right myself or not. What they have the show the interest about this. Another is increase also blink, like blink rate also increase when we have the talk the negative, and when we have also talk the like mm, a false talk or try to do something new. That time our blood from the face is increased. That's why we touch our nose and also our face and everything to reduce our stress. Another is nose touch. Nose touch is one hormone in secretion, catecholamine hormone increase. When we are talking the lie, catecholamine hormone increase, that is stress hormone, and that's why we touching our nose. That is another cues for body language. Another is tight facial muscles. Sometimes we have become the criminal, show the very tight, rigid in muscles, and this kind of activity also give the indicator there are something wrong. In one of the my famous technique is if you are talking the one people and both are related with a crime or not. If you are talk the one people, that person is giving the yes no answer, but what the side person, beside person also giving the indicator is that person is taking talking with true or not. For example, that girl also giving the hand in the chest, like in near the neck face. We also give the, when people have like a feel the vulnerable or need the security issue, that time that person are showing the touch the this kind of area. Another is speech pattern, and like a this kind of activity also increasing. Yeah, that's a actually this kind of word extreme related word is increasing when doing the deception. Okay, and inconsistent gesture. You will see sometimes in crime they are sit very rigidly, and sometimes they are moving very oil. For example, you are asking a question. Um, how do you think the killing of this 600 people is good or bad for the police? Okay, he is like sitting this gesture, and before giving the answer he is moving and then answer. That's mean what he is thinking the first, he is not telling this, he is telling different. So inconsistent gesture also see. Another is defense gesture, like a hand barrier and lock the leg, and this kind of showing you will see like a crossing the arms, and he is not a very open minded, you will see that this. Another is lack of details. Sometimes when you ask the one question, he is not telling this, he is the telling other thing more details. So lack of details and telling more details in other information also indicator of the non-verbal communication. And change the body language for sure, we also talk this, like this is the rigid behavior. He is sitting that this kind of Alex murder. This is like he is sitting in rigid pointers. In hand is also crossing, leg is also crossing. Another is if you are very stressed, you that time people are touching the joint, hand joint, leg joint for release the stress. in behavior analysis, you have must to understand the baseline. Baseline behavior means in normal situation, normal behavior is without non-stressful situation. What is the normal behavior of that person? You have to understand. Then you have compare the body language of that people when that people is doing the talk with you, and what is the changing. And another is, and doing, for example, we say the catecholamine increase when the telling the lie. That person he's touched the nose, but anyone have the cold issue and like a fever, he's touching his nose. You cannot say that that person is talking lie, and this is so. In body language, you have to analyze the cluster. Cluster means at least 3 4 deceptive behavior you will see the constantly. That you have to say yes, there are the some problem, and you have to understand the time and context. For example, if anyone have the fasting, whole day he is not eating, in the evening time you are asking the question, and you will see the some facial aggression, tiredness, and the sweating is coming because he is not eating whole day in the fasting time. So time context is important. Another is sometimes the you will understand the contradictory statement when the that person is talking or not. That is also helpful. Sometimes I was there, that person do this. Another time he say no, I was playing. So you will understand the contradictory statement. Changing the voice also analysis in our body language analysis. And excessive apologize. If unconsciously when some people when you do the any crime of everything, not all case, many cases your brain is no, you do the crime, and inner you feel the apologize and guilty feeling. So your body language show the guilty feeling. Excessive level frequency apologize also show the body through the body language. We also see this. And consider the context. We also talk about the cluster, and also we have to give the pay the attention overall the body language, not just one or two sign. Okay, and that was my today session. If you have any question, you can ask, and you can contact with me in LinkedIn, Meraz Psychologist, social media, Meraz Psychologist, and our official website, forensicbd.org. Thank you, everyone. If anyone have the question, you can ask. Hello, anyone have the question? Okay. So if you don't have the question, we'll meet tomorrow. Pravesh and Deepali will, ma'am, sir, ma'am will join this, and that will be more applied. And so I enjoy also everyone. Okay,
Right.
Tamanna. Okay, now is
Yes.
time.
Okay. Before we leave, we really want to thank you all for being such an engaged audience today. We've had an incredible first day of the international workshop on forensic psychology and crime investigation. I hope you found this session very insightful and inspiring, as I did. And thanks to our fantastic facilitators, Ms. Swetha, Sadanandan, Thoppil, and MD Meraz Hossain, sir, for sharing their expertise and walking us through such fascinating topics, from understanding forensic psychology's role in investigations to psychological assessments and behavioral analysis. Today has been packed with knowledge and practical insights. Before we conclude, shall we take one last group picture with all these beautiful faces? If it's a yes, let's all turn the camera on for a few minutes.
Okay, I want to add one thing. In Bengali people in January, I will analyze start another third batch body language analysis, 2 months training, and we'll get the poster every details in our group. In future, we will add this. Okay.
Right, so more interesting things coming up from BIFPS. We all look forward to it. And thanks for turning the cameras on. Shall we wait for a few other people here? All right, you guys are wonderful. So let's take the picture now. One, two, three, cheese. Okay, guys, thank you so much. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow. And please keep engaged with our social media platforms and comment or ask away questions on our Facebook, LinkedIn, anywhere you feel it's good for you to ask. We are open to questions.
Thank you, everyone.